Perfect.
Okay. And I'll try not to sniffle.
Okay, sniffle away.
Okay.
I don't think anybody else. Hey folks, Bob Tuskin here. I'm with the legendary Sonia Barrett. Sonia, good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
So the name of your talk, I'm going to read it here so I don't butcher it, at the Free Your Mind Conference, Breaking the Shackles of System-Controlled Freedom. Give the listeners and viewers a little bit of a sneak peek on what you discussed.
Well, let's see. I think one of the things I wanted to emphasize is the fact that freedom has been sold to us, and it's gotten to the point where we don't recognize that we are not really free. And I think we look to the system to be freed from the system. But one of the things that I emphasize is that freedom is really coming from, it's an inner evolution as opposed to the system giving you freedom. That's not possible, because the system will always give you an illusion of freedom. And
so those
are just boundaries.
Yeah, so those that are in jail that talk about this, and they say, you know, I've been put in jail, but yet in my mind I was still free, because they can't take that away from you. Is that the kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's where real freedom comes from. There is a place where they really cannot access, they really can't get in, and you have to find that place for yourself. And, you know, one of the other thing that I really emphasized was the fact that the way things are set up right now, we tend to look outside of ourselves. That's what we're encouraged to do, is to look for all our solutions, all our answers outside of ourselves, and to not trust our own inner guidance, or to be able to trust ourselves, period. So that is a big emphasis, and we see that through media. You know, a lot of what we see in the media encourages fear, first of all, and in that fear, we end up getting the sense that we need something external to save us, and the system will save us, or somebody will save us. So yeah, so we're really taught to look outside of ourselves. And I think there's a fear that if people really wake up to that and start really looking inward for true freedom, that the game will be over.
So how do we go about doing that? Because it seems to me easier said than done.
Well, another thing that I like to emphasize is that we first have to become honest with ourselves about what we feel, you know, how we define our lives, how we define freedom. Are we happy? Basic things like that. It sounds silly, but I think if we were to take an honest look at how we live, and the lives that we live, and the jobs that we have, how much passion do we really have for the lives that we are living? Because most of it is survival. It is programmed. You know,
right.
we're going after survival in one way or another. So I think to be able to stop and take an honest assessment about one's life, are you constantly feeling like you need to find a way to escape what is going on around you? And if you feel yourself wanting to figure out, well, how can I get away from all of this? That is really a huge key, because that's the moment you have to stop and go, wait a second, what am I trying to get away from? These are things that I'm being told. Are these things happening to me personally at this time? No, they're not. Okay, so what am I running from? And you have to really bring yourself into a centered space and a truthful space. And if there is fear, then you have to figure out, well, since I'm feeling this way, what options do I have then? Would I want to move? You know, all of these things you have to end up looking at for yourself in order to find a solution within you, for you, not based on what they're telling you is a solution for you.
Many people out there are fans of The Secret, or what's called the law of attraction. I want to get your take on this, because that never sat well with me. I kind of look at The Secret as a bit Pollyannish, to think that without acting, without taking responsibility and being honest with yourself, to think that if you just have positive thoughts and that everything, that it will happen automatically. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the law of attraction, to think that children who are slaughtered in genocide in Africa, and people who have horrific things happen to them, 9/11, the victims of all of this, to think that somehow they brought that upon themselves, that also doesn't sit well with me.
Right.
So what's your take on that? Do you think that there's more to The Secret?
I think that there was way more to it, and I think there's so many things that we're not explained. And I think self-responsibility for one, and all the things that I said just a few minutes ago in terms of the honest factor. Because see, if we are honest with ourselves, guess what? The choices that we make are going to be different. For example, with The Secret, a lot of it seemed like it was very materialistic.
Right, it's about money.
And getting stuff. And if we are truly honest with ourselves about where we are in our lives and how happy or comfortable we are with the lives that we are living, then a lot of those things you might find that you really don't want. Because many of the times we want things, certain things, to either impress or to meet, for example, the American dream, or to qualify under the category of success, the success failure thing that we've got going in our society. And you want to be seen as this kind of person, a successful person. Or it could be family. Somebody said you're going to be a failure, so you want to show that you're not. So that's why I say that it's so important that we own the truth of what we feel. And it could be things from your childhood that you're still not comfortable with, those hurts, and that in itself will make you make different decisions, different choices about what you actually want to do with your life. Yes, there is such a thing as being able to create one's reality, but I think that we're doing it all the time anyway, even if it's a reality that we don't care for. We somehow, we construct or we maintain being unhappy sometimes. For example, I think we get addicted to the lives that we live. You might be in a relationship that's bad. It might be, abusive, but you're in it for a long time. Why? Sometimes it's fear. You don't know how to leave. And sometimes it's just simply because it's a habit. You just don't know what you do if you leave. So there's all these different dynamics that you are dealing with, and yet you have the choice to potentially then create something different for yourself. And it doesn't have to be the fluffy woo-woo type of, I create my reality. It could just be a basic realization as to how I got in this predicament in the first place, how I ended up in this lifestyle that I don't care for, or this job in the first place. Well, let me look for another job. Not, well, I've been here for 10 years, I hate it. Then that's you creating your reality with that, instead of going to figure out, well, how can I get a job that I really like? You have the option then to try to create something new, and that's not coming from a fluffy standpoint. That's just logical.
Much of the conference has been about shining the light on the dark. What's your take? And this will be one of my final questions, but and there's a reason for that, because basically what I want to know is, what do you see as the solution to rid this planet of all the suffering and all the darkness? How can we, either as a collective or as individuals, make that happen?
It's really
that's the million-dollar question, right?
I know, it's an interesting question for me, because a lot of things I don't see quite the same way that other people see it. That's probably why. I don't.
Or can we?
I don't know. I don't think that it's about trying to figure out how we can rid the planet of all the darkness on it. I think that we have to understand that there is a balance for everything. In order to have rich people, we've got to have poor people. In order for you to experience being poor, you got to have people who are rich. This is what is going on. This is a war planet, and this planet is about competition and opposition. And I think we need to recognize that. We also need to recognize that, yes, everybody is here with their own unique journey. That is true, and I think maybe that's part of what some parts of what maybe The Secret was trying to say. They just didn't explain that very well. We don't know why people end up in the lives that they end up in. We don't know why you and I don't live in a war-torn environment.
Do we choose to come here, though? I mean, is it a spiritual choice?
I feel that, and I think it's very hard for us to see it that way, because we want to figure out, well, why would I choose something like this? We want to see it as a random act.
Right.
And I really don't feel that it's random. I think that if we look at it from the recycling aspect, then, for example, we can't say, well, we believe in reincarnation and people come back, and then on the other hand, when you have maybe somebody who's been a serial killer, and he comes back, and maybe he has a horrific life, But you don't know that maybe he was a serial killer before. I mean, so I'm not saying that whether you should believe in the reincarnation or not. But I think there's a lot of factors involved that we do not have answers for as to why you end up living in an area of the planet where all these things happen, and I live in an area where everything is okay. I think there are some other conditions at play. I don't think it's random. There's a scientist, Dr. Cloutier Rapai, who is very well respected, and he wrote the book Culture Code. And when I interviewed him for my documentary, one of the things that he was saying is that what they realize is that people's deaths, people don't die on the dates that they die. It's not random. So what they're understanding is basically nothing is random. There is some sort of order or sequence to it, and it has something to do with our journey, our unique journey. Choices that we make, belief systems that we have, subconscious programming that we have, childhood, that we have, things that we come into this life with, because the cells, the DNA, it all holds information.
Interesting.
Everything is coded. Everything is made up of information. So I think that we have to be open to the fact that we don't know why each person's life is the unique journey that it is, and focus on our personal evolution, because I think that impacts the journey and the planet more than anything else when we focus on how can we evolve our own personal life. I think that if everybody did that, I think that the change that we want, we would more readily see it. But if we keep trying to go outside to fix people when our own lives need some repairing, I think that it defeats the whole purpose.
I think that's a great point, and it's something that people take for granted. You have to deal with your own house before you can work to help your neighbors.
Right.
It's common sense.
Like on the plane, you put your mask on first before you
exactly. We all experienced that tutorial as
Absolutely.
we're reminded of that. So what's next for you? Anything on the horizon?
Well, I'm working on producing the film, the documentary, The Business of Disease. It's thebusinessofdisease.com. And so I really would love for people to be able to go and like us on Facebook. And if you want to help funding, we still need to do that. And actually, I'm expecting the film to come out by the fall. It's been a journey. And so that's actually the latest thing that I have going.
The business of disease. And disease has become
a big business.
A big business.
Big
and that's
business.
Unfortunate. Well, Sonia, it was great to meet you.
Thank you so much. I
All right.
appreciate it. All right. Okay, I hope those
Thank
were
you.
good answers.